most people on this planet are good people, man. I really do. By and large, we are all good people. It only takes a few of us to really mess things up for the rest of us. And that's what
Yeah.
I see, man.
Isn't that a
And
sad like,
unfortunately, that's just true.
and
All through human
another
history.
what I really find like super fascinating about you is like the shit that you've been through, and how long did you keep this in? Because you didn't talk about it until recently.
Well, I tried. Right after this happened, we pulled into port. This was back in 2004. And I mean, this was standard procedure. After every exercise, everyone gets together and we come up with lessons learned and we debate what happened and try to do it better next time, right? And a lot of people that weren't there, I kind of raised my hand because everyone was reluctant to talk about this thing for obvious reasons. And I said, hey guys, we got a safety issue off the coast here. They were like, what do you mean, Singer? And when I tried to describe what had happened, and of course I didn't have the radar data available, I didn't have anything available, they looked at me weird, put it that way. I mean, and looking back on it, I harbor no fault, because if the roles had been reversed and I had been them and they were
right.
someone else had been telling me this, I likely would have reacted the same way. So I'm not looking for any compensation out of this, and I've already been repaid in more ways than I can tell you. And I wouldn't trade my journey for anything. I really wouldn't. And the only reason why I am speaking out now, it started back when Commander Fravor came out. I called my old buddy Gary Voorhees and I said, hey brother, we have to come out and support what he's saying. Right. And it's kind of morphed from there, because looking back on things, I understand things now that I didn't before. And one of those understandings that I have is this contact changes you, man. You get.
I think that's what everyone says too. Everyone says it. It changes their scope on their place in the universe, and that's that's a shattering feeling when
it is, especially when you don't put two and two together and it's happening and you don't understand, you don't connect the dots back, and everyone around you. I ended up in the wilderness out here. It's a whole nother story, and everyone's like, what in the heck happened to Kevin? Yeah, I mean, our whole family thought I'd gone insane, but I had become obsessed with this idea that I could figure out the geology back in these hills, and guess what I did?
Figured it out.
Yeah, I personally believe I was led there because what lies here beneath the ground is absolutely stunning. Yeah, there's a mineral deposit here that's perhaps unrivaled in the history of this planet. And I know maybe I'm speaking out of school here, but I'm just talking about the size of the geology. And what I'm talking about, and I'm kind of going off track, but it's part of this story, and I really wanted to talk about it because I want to describe how this changes you, right? So I ended up back in the wilderness, and I had this idea. My family had a mining claim back there in the 1920s.
Okay.
And I remember
this is all from the paper this is all from what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I remember talking to my grandpa, and he said, Kevin, you don't understand. We weren't mining gold nuggets. We were mining gold dust. And in fact, it was so fine, we lost more than we found. And you look at it under a microscope, it looks like snowflakes. So when I'm back there, I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't make any sense. If that gold had traveled very far at all, it looked like little tiny ball bearings at the least, right? So one thing led to another, and I figured out it was actually geology from a known geologist called the Josephine ophiolite. And basically, ophiolite is Ophiolite, ophiolite. Okay. People can look it up. And what that is, it's on the mid-Pacific spreading arcs. Those things spread, right? And normally what happens is those spreading arcs get subducted under continental plates because they're really heavy from minerals and stuff, because there's all kinds of hydrothermal vents laying down mineral deposits. Okay. Well, in this case, it didn't get subducted. It got abducted, and it's stuck on dry land. And that thing goes from Northern California all the way to Southern Washington, and it's literally loaded with rare earth elements, including gold and stuff needed for space exploration. And the weird thing is, the weird thing is, everything just came. It was like everything came together because
a puzzle piece that it just fit. Yeah, right. It all kind of clicked.
That's at the end of the story, and it gets interesting now because when Elon Musk's Dear Moon mission came out, I said, "What the heck? I'll apply." So I
Oh
applied
my
for it,
God.
of course, and I had sent him all my research and everything. And I'm going to set this down for a second. I was outside the house about 4 days later. I was outside the house. Oops, sorry. I had to grab this. And I noticed this really, really weird airplane flying back and forth above the wilderness. And that doesn't happen.
Right,
It was
right.
really low, and it was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And with
And
your expertise, you know, you're
it
looking at
well,
this like, hey, what is
yeah,
that?
I've been looking at aircraft my whole life. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck? It turns out it was a NASA flight on a geodetic mission. And here's a picture of it. I know it's
And
hard
that's
to
the
see, but it
but
goes out. Someone was checking out my research, and I'm putting two and two together.
right.
Mama didn't raise no fool. Um, I well, in you might wonder why. Well, why them? Well,
right.
don't they have the new boring technology they were putting in the tunnels from LA to Las Vegas?
Yep. Yep.
And I suggested in my application, hey, sir, here's my research, and you might be able to repurpose your technology to mine these things from underneath the ground, because it's and not disturb the wilderness.
Exactly. That's got to be. I feel
Because
like that's always got to be pertinent.
right now, I would defend this wilderness with my being, because it's primordial and it's beautiful, and I hope it shall not ever be mined, surface mining. There's no way that can happen. It's beautiful and it's precious beyond belief. But if we go from below the ground, there might be some stuff down there that can really help out mankind
Just in our endeavors in space, because
in
I
our
mean,
future needs.
right. So,
Yep. Are you still there?
so yeah.
Did I lose you?
You're no, you're
Yeah, you
you're
paused for a
cutting in
minute.
a little bit.
Okay.
Can you
It's
hear me
just the
now?
internet.
Yeah, I know.
I can hear you.
All right. So, you know, with this, you talk about being brought there, or not brought there, but being maybe potentially that, you know, there's something else at work and it led you to these things. But what you know, what I found really, really like, I don't know, not motivation. I can't find the word, but there's something about your story about the nightmares and the overwhelming feeling of like something bad. And you talk about that. I mean, how long did that last and how intense was it? Because this is something that we've heard before. I've heard it before. You know, when people
Yeah.
say they see something and then they, you know, danger of
this was like
technology.
this was like late 2008, early 2009, when I had retired and I became a defense contractor. And again, meetings would happen, and again, I would raise my hand and say, "Hey, we have a safety issue off the Southern California coast," and be like, "What do you mean, Kevin?" And again, I would try to describe what happened, and I literally got laughed at. People literally asked me what I'd been smoking.
So you did try to bring this up the
Crushed me,
proper
man.
channels.
It crushed me. Because here I was at the top of my game, and all of a sudden I'm providing true and accurate observer testimony here, and you guys are laughing at me.
Right.
And I didn't have the radar data or no one around to back me up.
So how many times do you think that?
It manifested into bad dreams, for a little while. Not, thank God, not long.
Right.
But the good news is it woke me up long enough and out of my funk, I guess, to write my book in 2008. I published it in the Library of Congress in 2009. Sailor's Anthology right here. And you're looking at the story right here that may have started this whole thing. It's called The Seer, and I wrote it in 2008, and it's a fictionalized account of what happened out in 2004 with the Nimitz strike group. And I even call them the objects Tic-tacs in my story, and I publish it in the Library of Congress.
Fuck. So
And
where can they get that? Is it you can get that on Amazon?
I did it just in case the story ever became public. That my story, if the encounter ever become public, my story would be definitive proof it really happened.
Yeah.
I don't try to explain what it was, because to this day I don't know. Although I'm going to tell you what I think it is here in a minute. Believe it or not, my story is proof it actually happened, and this is one of the reasons why the government had to come out and admit these things are real. It was that little story published in the Library of Congress, and you can go check it out today.
Huh.
I have the library control number right here if you want it, but I won't bore you with it.
But so I guess so how many times, I mean, something like this happens. Now let's take away all the alien talk, right? Just put it on the back burner for a minute, right? So
You bet.
this
I've
stuff
never been an
happens.
alien.
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
been a UFO guy. Just so you know, I was just
I
some guy
am.
on watching. I was manning the radar on watch like I always did, and this shit
That's
happened.
but
I wasn't a
that's the
UFO
bigger
guy.
part of it. That's the best part of it
Yeah,
is you Fravor, Voorhees, who's the actual pilot who
Jason Turner. Yeah,
Turner,
Jason Turner. The
um,
PJ
Alex.
on the E2. Yeah, all of our buddies in the strike group. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
all
were
of you
affected
guys
by
are
this.
literally, but aside from astronauts, I see you guys as the most credible people that can make an observational claim like that. I will not take it as serious until someone like you says it, right?
And
Because
thank you,
then
sir.
all of a sudden it's different.
And
It's
thank you,
not.
sir.
Yeah,
And I challenge any listeners right now, and all the people that we've just talked about. You find one of us that's tried to monetize this thing for ourselves.
for sure.
You won't be able to do it. And,
For sure.
and I'm not even tempted. The thought of it makes me want to vomit. Because what about all those people that didn't get compensated?
Right. I didn't get.
That's why I'm speaking out.
And that's, I think that's the betterment of humanity right there. It's the thing that makes us so unique is the willingness to do the right thing in the face of all odds. But yeah, of course, there are going to be those bad apples and those people that try to wring everything and make us, they're the ones who really make our, I don't know, society and everything look, greedy and bad. But 90% of the people I talk to, they do believe that you guys saw what you saw and there's no changing it anymore. You guys, say what you will about Roswell being the quote unquote start of the phenomenon, but I really do think that the Nimitz and the Tic-tac, they're the definitive start to something of disclosure, right? It's the definitive beginning of a disclosure process. So what you guys went through, it will never be in vain, and I hope you guys don't think that, you guys did anything wrong or, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. I think you all tried. I think what we really have to look at is why are you guys being laughed at when you talk about something like this? Why? That's the part that bothers me.
Because we're human. If the roles had been reversed, I may have been the one laughing. It's easy for me to sit here and say, no, I wouldn't have been, but come on, these were good people,
Very. I mean, what was your rank at the time?
When this happened, I was an E8. There's a enlisted ranks go from E1 to E9.
Yep. Very familiar with it. Well, not the
Yeah,
Navy, actually.
I was up for E9 one time before I retired, and for whatever reason, it was at the end of the drawdown. They only made one that year. And it wasn't me, and I have to tell you, they made the right choice. So, God love him.
Yeah. So I think part of the mystery of this thing is you guys were tracking. So you guys were tracking these for multiple days beforehand, and you specifically were tracking these things multiple days beforehand, and then it just so happened to be Commander Fravor's training flight that you retasked, if you will, with a real world situation.
Well, and just to help kind of explain and why that is, why we weren't really that concerned about them, because here we are off the Southern California coast, right off San Diego, and there's lots of air traffic, right? And we were tracking these objects coming through our operating area, not far off the coast. They were going past us and off, the coast of Mexico, and we didn't have any aircraft on the Nimitz at the time, so we were tracking on the radar and reporting on our data links. So the beach had this data too. We were reporting them like we're supposed to, and we weren't really concerned about them for any reason. They weren't, although there was nothing published in the NOTAMs, the Notice to Air Mariners, which was having me scratching my head because was very odd. But when the day of the air defense exercise rolled around, that's when Kevin Day became concerned, because I was getting ready to launch a bunch of aircraft off the Nimitz, in that same airspace where these objects had been. So when Captain Smith comes down to combat, hey sir, we've been tracking these. The ADEX is in it. We're launching here soon. Recommend we intercept and find out what these things are. He said, "You're right, Senior Chief. Intercept and VID," and the rest is history.
So
That,
what are
the rest? Yep.
I do know the rest by heart.
Yep.
I know the whole thing at this point, but hearing it for myself is it's something different, right? Like I just had security personnel from Skinwalker Ranch come on, and you hear the stories of Skinwalker Ranch, and whether they're true or not is a different thing. But hearing it for yourself is so much more powerful, right? Than watching it on an edited TV show, because I'm sure that you go into those studios, you sit there for 2 hours, and they use 5 minutes of it, right?
Sure.
It's typically how it goes. So there's how, and I've heard this question asked one time. What are the odds that these things weren't actually there? That it was some sort of false track or anomaly? What are the odds of that?
Well, if it hadn't been for the fact someone actually saw him with their eyeballs up close, right. Commander Fravor and his wingmans, two different flight crews saw him with their eyeballs,
and one with video. What the
and multiple ships held these on some of the most sophisticated radars in the entire planet. So at least this observer is convinced they were real.
Right. So
now, is it if it turns out they weren't, I can accept that.
Well, that's not the point that I'm trying to get at. So
okay, go ahead.
With your expertise, with what you've seen in the past, you were tracking these things over 3 days. I'm sure you troubleshot your radar to make sure that they were there. Like it wasn't just a false track. Like you rebooted
Everyone
the system.
Did, yeah.
Right.
Everybody in this track group did, yeah.
So what are the actual odds that they're not there? Probably closer to zero than the other thing, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Right, and then you have the
close
pilot.
To zero, yeah. It's close. Yeah. It's close to zero, but not impossible.
Of course.
What is actually impossible? I don't
know. Well, I mean, if this is true, then I mean, what's possible just got a lot bigger. But I mean, these things were demonstrating. They were demonstrating flight characteristics. They were demonstrating, breaking our laws of physics that we know them, or as we know them, and no means of propulsion, no windows, seemingly no cockpit, or anything that would signify it was created by humans on Earth with the technology that's available to us now. So correct. You said you have an idea, but I know the U in UFO and UAP is always unidentified. What do you think they are?
Well, here we go. I've been thinking about this long and hard, and one of the things that I noticed in 2004 was after the intercept happened, we have what in strike group air defense between us and any notional threat, we have pre-planned points in the sky. We set up our aircraft to defend us.
CAP points?
And they're called Combat Air Patrol Stations, CAP for short, right? Well, for some reason, this object that Commander Fast Eagle had intercepted right in front of him disappeared right on his CAP station. Exactly the altitude and exactly the right latitude and longitude. So no one understood it. It was only years later when I think I understand what it was. It was a message to be understood later, and I think I have. It was telling whoever would. It was telling a later observer, I guess, which happened to be me, that intention is part of this phenomenon. Intention itself, and the reason why I even think that stronger now is because when we went down off SoCal recently we filmed a Terror in the Sky with Caroline Corey.
Yeah, that was great.
We showed up on that roof with all that gear, all that trained expertise. We had quantum physicists, scientists, trained observers, and some of the most high-tech gear you can imagine on that roof. And guess what happened? They showed up with bells on. They showed up for us, which again convinced me that they knew our intent. So I'm thinking intention itself has to be a part of this phenomenon. And I have a suspicion that I'm not the only one that thinks that now. I think our quantum physicists are thinking the same thing, because I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about intention itself. All right.
Well,
and I have a question for you.
Okay.
There's fundamental forces in the universe, right?
Correct.
You got the electromagnetic, the strong and weak, nuclear, and gravity, right?
Yep.
But I have a question. We all subscribe to the Big Bang theory, right? Everything started with the Big Bang. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, I don't do the religious part of it. Like I don't subscribe to religion.
I have a purely
Big Bang is a theory.
My question has nothing. My statement has nothing to do with religion.
Right.
This is a physics question.
Okay.
This is a physics question. The Big Bang, was it intentional or unintentional?
Jesus. That's a
right. And and me
that's
too.
A fucked up question.
And as the guy asking myself this question, I wrote down, okay, I don't know. So 50-50.
Yeah.
No one's, prove otherwise, right? 50-50.
Could intent have
right. Am I wrong? So therefore,
no, you're
if there's
absolutely right.
Well, think of it. Now think this through. If there's a 50% chance that the Big Bang was intentional, what might that universe look like? And so I've drawn it out. I think intention itself is a fundamental force, because it's a result of the Big Bang itself. And I think these objects, whatever they are, understand this force, and their engineering is based on intention. It's based on a fundamental force that we didn't know about before. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I see. That, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's what I think.
No, but there are many people in the world who talk about, like, you ever seen the random number generator test?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And like when people start thinking collectively, something happens that we can't quite figure out. Right. So could intent have something to do that? Man, you really might be onto something here, because I've never thought about it like that. But I mean, instinct, right? Even instinct or intent, like for me, right? For me, I intended to talk to you today. I was thinking about what was going to happen, what I was going to say, right? And now it's all starting to come to fruition, and it's similar to what I thought it would be like, right? Not exactly at some points, but maybe intent is stronger than just the way that we can think about it and perceive it. I mean, I've never had anyone say that before, so that's pretty intense. So that would then lead you to.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep you up tonight thinking about it. You won't be able to sleep.
I'm going to be like, God, my intentions need to be pure for the rest of my life.
I did that to my fiance last night. We were sleeping. I was like, hey, I got a question for you. We're about ready to sleep, right? I said, what's up, Kev? I said, Christmas doilies. She's like, what? Do you want me to make them or what? No, I was like, no, I just want you to ponder it. And I was like, good luck. Good luck not thinking about it the rest of the night. Yeah.
Right.
I got beat up for it. Yeah. In a good way.
So
it was G-rated beating. Yeah.
Yeah, very much. By the way, congratulations.
Thank you. Because I wanted to give a shout out. She's over here listening to us.
Yeah.
Hi,
she
Kim.
is very sweet woman. And you're a very lucky
awesome.
man.
I mean, I feel so blessed to have her in my life. You can't even imagine.
Yeah, man. And
when all you those said love songs make sense now.
Yeah. Especially in early sobriety, right? In early sobriety for me, my mother and Marlena, they were my rocks, right? They were the people that I, because when you get into that early sobriety realm, it's kind of like you're starting over. You don't feel right. You're kind of relearning emotion and how, response to things. And it's kind of like reteaching your body or reteaching yourself to be human in my mind. So, having those amazing women to bounce off of and to hold you steady at some of the bad times is always such a blessing. So, yeah, I
can tell you it was a strong woman in my life that saved this kid's life.
Yeah, exactly.
or at least
And
or at least an earlier death. You know, one of the two.
right. No, you're
Yep.
gonna live. You're gonna live forever, man. You didn't know that? So,
Well,
but
I'm open to the possibility. Yeah.
hell yeah, me too. Me too.
Yep.
Speaking of, you said you wanted to, so you signed up for Elon Musk's program. Would you say the chance came and they were like, Kevin, we want you on this mission to Mars, right? So you'd actually go?
I would go. Yep. If
Really?
I had made the short list on the Dear Moon mission, but you know they're only taking 8, so
Limited availability, yeah.
yeah. Although one of my good buddies did make it, I'm not going to throw his name out there at the moment.
Yeah.
But I asked him if he would take my book with him around the dark side of the moon. He's like, hell yeah, I'll take it with me. So I might be the first published author in around the moon.
Hell fucking yeah, man. Hell yeah. Cool? And especially with the beginning story too.
Yep.
That's amazing.
It kind of makes sense, don't it?
Yeah. All the puzzle pieces are starting to click together. And that leads me to the idea, right? What do you think? They're clearly not here to hurt us, or it doesn't seem like they are. If the UFOs or UAPs, if they're not just drones or probes, or if they are probes and something else is about to come, it doesn't seem like yet we've seen any hostility. Is it with your belief that these things are benevolent, or
you know what? I think it's just the opposite. Yep. I think they're benevolent, and here's why I think that. It's because from when I reflect on what happened to me personally, here I was, a top shelf of DOD guy,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm in the wilderness, and everyone thought I had gone insane. Even myself, I was questioning, what the hell am I doing here again? Every day.
Yeah.
Now imagine this. What if there was a mass event, a global mass event, and everyone on the planet started to change like I did, and nobody knew how or why?
Wow, Kevin.
That might not end so well, and that's why I think these things, whatever they are, have avoided us, because they care about us.
So you think?
Why now? I don't know, and it's not my job. But it's my job to let God use me. That's my job right now. Let God use me.
Right. And
I'm not really. I don't say that in a religious way. I say that from a physics point of view, because I do. It's hard to describe how I feel, but I'm not religious. I never have been.
Me either. That's what's the hardest part about, getting behind all the, I guess it's not the idea of a superior being that makes me not want to believe, right? Because I do believe in something. There's no way that I don't know. That's a different conversation, I suppose. But I think I have a problem with the modern religion, like Christianity as it's written, right? The Bible, all those things. Organized religion doesn't seem like it's correct to me. I've never looked at it and been like, yeah, that makes sense to me. No. But the spiritual part of it is what makes sense to me. Why are we here?
Yeah.
We have to ask ourselves these questions. And there's a potential that if we answer the second, what are the two questions that most people ask? What happens after we die? And are we alone in the universe? Now, with the are we alone in the universe question, if we can answer that, we might have a better shot at answering the first question as well. Who knows if they know, if they're from an older star and they've had a 1,000,000-year jump on us. Maybe they figured out what the point of this all is, and we could learn from them. And I don't know. I have so many ideas and so many wants, and maybe that allows me, or maybe that makes me want to believe in this whole phenomenon more. But do you think that, because what you said, the reason you literally said the line that made it so I connected with you without you even knowing. This is when I was watching you on the TV shows and stuff like that, is what happens the day that we have a mass disclosure moment and everybody is forced into the feelings that I had already. What if we're all forced into that? That's not a good thing. Imagine the whole world going through what you went through at one time. That is that's a scary thought. And that's when I connected with you and I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like we need to listen more to him, to Fravor, to all of you.
And I personally, even though it may not be true, but I like to think it's true, it gives me reason to believe that's why I went through that experience. So I would know what the stakes were. And I would be in a position later to give warning of some kind, to speak to it.
Because I mean, in all honesty, say
you can keep your money, you can keep your fame. I consider myself one of the wealthiest people I've ever met. I'm rich in life, put it that way.
Right.
And if I can pay my electric bill, I'm happy.
That's it, right? Everyone's clamoring for all that other stuff, but it's like that's not the meaning of this. That's not why we're here. It's not. I can tell you right now that we are not here to be, a celebrity. That's not the meaning of life. There's something else, maybe the meaning of life is different for every person.
In fact, I got to tell you, that's a very hard life.
Yeah.
Being a celebrity. Yeah. Those people work their butts off. I've seen some of it now, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I wouldn't want to be you. You work too hard for this kid.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
I mean, that's who I interact with is because you can see behind me, I'm really big into movies and stuff.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Same with
I talk to actors on a daily basis and have to deal with their agents, and like you can't even I can never have a conversation like this with anyone like that.
They have my respect, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
But do you think that more of a, I mean, what's it going to take for more people? I mean, a lot of people already take this pretty seriously, but what's it going to take for us to come together and look to the stars and solve problems, not as individual countries, but as Earth, right?
I can tell you, and the answer lies in what is happening right now, because you should see my Facebook. I'm getting friended from people all over this planet. And I think that's what's happening here. This, whether it likes it or whether government A or government B likes it, it's happening anyway.
Right.
People are coming together over this anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not my job to answer why, because I don't care. I want to ask how. What can I do to make this work?
Right. And that's what one of Commander Fravor's answers to a question made me laugh so hard. And he was like, I wasn't like scared of it. I was more like, I want to fly that thing. Right. Because it was the way it was moving. Was just so crazy.
And I gotta say this about Commander Fravor. He is one of the best damn pilots the Navy's ever produced. Yep.
He lives like an hour from me.
So hands down. Yep.
Yeah. And
I say that because I know I was there.
Well, a lot of people don't know. I didn't know at first, but the Nimitz battle group is typically the first line of defense. So you guys are a part of, or were a part of, one of the United States most valuable assets as a collective.
It's still true to this day.
Yeah, still true to this day. So
it's a worldwide projection force, you bet.
That makes it even worse that that this wasn't at least sent up the line as a safety flight safety issue. And then that goes double for the Roosevelt on the East Coast, with Ryan Graves, who also lives very close to me. Fravor's in New Hampshire, and I
don't want to pat myself on the back here, but when I tried to speak out in 08 and 09, and that was my whole point. Hey, these things are a safety of flight issue. That's all I was trying to say.
Right.
And since that time, have I been proven correct in that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've had near air-to-air incidents with our Navy aircraft with these objects.
Yeah, what was it, like then. A layer misses?
Well, and that's just the ones we've heard about.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's likely ones we haven't heard about, okay? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know how the Navy works, yeah.
And so, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, so the Roosevelt was off the East Coast, and they were running, drills similar. They were pre-deployment, and they were running drills, and they were coming across these things on a regular basis. And it wasn't until one of the unidentified craft split two aircraft, so went right between two aircraft, that they took notice, and they were like, "This is not a joke." So, people said,
looking at it, like,
yeah, I mean, how fucking scary is that gotta be? Because, I mean, how many options do we have here? So one option is, it's some secret government or United States government, right, project. That, if that's the case, why would they ever put you guys in danger like that, or test our own, test these craft against our own pilots and battle groups? But and then option.
I can tell you this. My entire job in the Navy was training. I was one of the best trainers that was producible at the time, I guess you will. I even taught school as a trainer, and never in my career had I ever seen a planned exercise with another exercise on top of it, and we didn't know about it.
Right.
Because it's safety. It's a safety issue, right?
Right.
And we don't want to get out there and kill people and break stuff. Just the opposite. So
you're there to train.
Well, what I'm saying is that's the one case where I will be furious. If it turns out that whatever this was, and my mind's open, was a test on top, and see how we were getting, you've heard the whole thing, Nick West people talking about it.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
If that turns out to be true, I'm going to be mad because someone ran a test on top of my exercise, and I didn't know about it, and it was a safety issue. I mean, it was something top secret, and it wasn't a safety issue. Fine, but a direct safety issue? No, not this kid. Nope.
Not like that. Not like that. I mean, but in Fravor and the other pilot who has since spoken out, I think her first name's Alex. I don't know 100% off the top of my head, but they said that there was something in the water churning this water, right? And that the craft was over it, doing some rapid movements. So we're not just dealing with something that flies in the sky and then into space. We're something that is transmedium, right? So no matter what its surrounding, or no matter what its environment is, it can move with impunity. So that kind of technology being hidden, I just, and there's no remnants or residue of it anywhere in the economy, not that I can see, right? Do we have anything that can travel in the air, space, and water? I don't think so, right?
No.
Not acknowledged, at least, right?
Right.
Right. So, for that to be buried in some governmental, Area 51 hangar, I don't know. That's a super stretch for me. So that leaves us with, a foreign government potentially, which I don't see it being either. But I mean, again, like you said, we have to be open-minded and, at least go in with the ability to be wrong, right? And then the third option being other. And other could mean many different things. Interdimensional travel, extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial. I mean, there's so many things that other could be. And I'm a firm believer now that it's other. I really can't see that being anything that was made by humans. Not yet.
I agree with you.
So
I have to agree with you.
Yep. And why do you think it is that maybe, aside from like these programs like ATIP, ALSAP, and these new ones, why isn't the government or people collectively done more to collect data and try to study this phenomenon? Is it the stigma alone?
Well, I think that's part of it, and I don't think the connection. I don't think anyone truly understands that these things are engineered on intention yet.
Right.
And once that is accepted, it will answer a lot of questions.
Right.
Because it makes them. If these things are based on intention, then all of a sudden they are transmutable.
Right.
They can fly the way they do. There's no stop, especially if they're wrapped in. An article just came out by George Musser, and it was on black holes. And apparently, there's this surface layer, and it's called the EMS layer. And I'll remember what it stands for in a minute. But anyway, there's this layer, and apparently, we were wrong about black holes. If you fall into a black hole, apparently now they've done some amazing math homework, and they've figured out that you can actually escape them. You can escape black holes.
How?
And there's a layer right around it. It's a keeper of passwords, if you will. And without the password, it just like random radiation coming out of the black hole.
Yeah.
Like if a refrigerator was to fall in it and
Right.
it was coming back out, you would see random radiation. But if you have the password, it turns back into a refrigerator.
Interesting.
So what I'm thinking was, what if there was this engineering based on intention, and say it was in the shape of a cube, just for sake of the shape, right?
Yeah.
But its intention, it's actually an engineered thing, right? And it's surrounded by one of these EMS. It's surrounded by one of these EMS layers. And one of the things that George Musser had written about is these layers don't apparently have to be around black holes. So I'm thinking, okay, what if you take one of these EMS layers and put it around this cube? All of a sudden, you have an object now,
right,
that describes everything we've been seeing.
Oh man, right? Because and this kind of goes into it, right? Because even Lou Elizondo, has these 5 observables, right? But what if, what if we're trying to explain something that we just don't have the words for yet, right? Or don't have the ability to perceive? And I think what you're talking about could be an answer to that. Is we don't even have
I fully admit what I just described is way out there, but the answer itself is way out there. So I mean, we know that now. So I mean, at least I haven't heard a single description of anyone tried to describe these things in the engineering way except for mine.
Right. Yeah, because no one's as of right now.
And I challenge anyone to poke holes in it. Go read the George Musser article. Go read it about the black holes.
I will.
I think the title was something about the paradox, the mathematical paradox has finally been solved or something like that. I forget the name of it. I don't have it. I meant to bring it out with me, but I don't have it with me. But
yeah, if you send it to me,
talks about this layer I'm talking about. It's a keeper of passwords, if you will.
Right. So like it's almost like a keychain, right? It's got all the data. What do you think about?
And here's a picture of what I drew with let me get it in here.
Yeah, right there.
Like if this is the Big Bang, you've got weak intention and strong intention as a nuclear force.
And that's so you have. So what can you go through it point by point here?
Yeah, assuming we accept the Big Bang and it's based on intention, then intention must have survived as a result of the Big Bang. So I'm thinking if it's like the strong and weak nuclear force, there's a Newtonian where we see intention, and then there's a non-Newtonian where it happens in quantum. And there's a password, just like around the black hole, there's a password that lets us communicate between them. And there's also alternate realities right behind it. So it just so happens it looks like a pyramid. I mean, that's just the way I was able to conceptualize it.
Exactly. Right.
Now, let me find. Okay, and here's a picture of what I think this technology might look like. Let me get it in here.
And that's remarkably close to what Ryan Graves saw.
Yeah. Well, I did that on purpose. Okay, I started with what was observed.
Right. Okay. So
because
UAP is manifest
observed
intention.
Appearance. It answers questions. The observed appearance, the observed awareness, because all these things seem aware. The observed medium ability can go from space to air to water, probably through land too. it explains the, observed flight patterns, and it has passwords to whatever, whenever.
Huh.
So this technology, if I'm right, Answers is able to do all those things, and it's all
I mean,
based on intention.
that
With this
technology,
password,
would
it's
that look like,
technology. Yes, this ain't
but would that
magic.
look like
It's
magic to
technology
us?
based on physics.
It
Yep.
would, but it would look
Like a
like
car,
magic to us.
yeah, like a car radio to a caveman.
Right. So yeah, because I mean, even Bob Lazar talks about, I don't know if you're familiar with his story, but one of the things I do like that he says
I am.
is like dropping a nuclear reactor in Victorian era, and how, yeah, of course, the first people that go in, they're going to kill themselves basically by tinkering with it. The next people that go in check on them, they're going to die, and it's just, they can't understand it, right? So there's no
Yeah.
way, we might be dealing with something that we just have no conceivable idea about it, and that what you're describing there, with being able to possibly even travel through land. I mean, that would be godlike to us at this point, right? We would consider that to be on a whole nother level, right? Like a
Yeah.
magician-y kind of thing. So, I mean, it's remarkable. What are the implications of this? What, if we could harness something like that, I mean, we could change our planet overnight, right? The overnight we get rid of all these, really terrible industries, like the fossil fuel, oil, all those things. I how far off are we?
Um, Something's about to happen. I'm
That's what
convinced of that.
I am too. I really am. And
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, I don't know what it is, but something in my gut is telling me that something's going to happen sooner than later, right? In our
And,
in
and I and I and I think it's good. Whatever's about to happen is a good thing for this planet and for humanity. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's how I feel.
but
I think we are loved beyond imagining. So I was asked, does intention matter in this? And I was thinking about it, and I took it all the way back to the Big Bang, and I asked myself, can you still hear me? You kind of went off a little bit.
yeah, I'm fixing the camera.
Okay. I asked myself, was the Big Bang intentional or unintentional? And, of course, I don't know. And so I put it down as 50-50. Mathematically, right?
Right.
Mathematically expressed, it's 50-50. It has to be, right?
Has to
Unless
be.
you can prove me wrong otherwise, it's got to be 50-50. So then I asked myself, okay, if it was intentional, what might that universe look like?
Huh.
And
So
I started to draw it out. And I realized that in that case, that it was intentional, that intention itself probably had to have survived the Big Bang itself. And it's actually a fundamental force that we didn't know about before.
right. And
Because
and
right now we know about electromagnetism, we know about strong and weak nuclear force, and we know about gravity.
mhm.
But I think intention itself is a fundamental force in nature, and I believe that is what their technology is based on.
Well, yeah, I
Their
mean, so
technology is based on intention as a physical force.
and this would, yeah,
That's simple.
this would make sense and correlate with a lot of the things that we perceive about these craft, right? So, when
Not only perceived, however, but things we're observing, like the observed appearance, like the sphere with the cube inside of it, observed behavior, observed awareness. These things are aware.
right.
Intent just suddenly describes all that. It's
Do
like
you
it's an epiphany moment is what it is.
so
And
do you,
why was I the one to point it at? I have no idea. Why hasn't anyone ever asked? I've done Google searches. Has anyone ever asked, was the Big Bang intentional or unintentional? I challenge you to find it. I
like
challenge you to find someone that's asked, okay, if it was intentional, what might that look like?
right. I think that's a
So why now?
fantastic question.
You tell me. I don't know.
That's the
It
one of the
seemed
best.
obvious to me.
That's one of the best questions I've ever heard posed. It was it intentional or not?
Well,
Because
thank you.
I mean, we often as human beings, we have these two questions that honestly kind of haunt our beings, and it's what happens after we die, and are we alone in the universe? And for once, for maybe in our lifetime, your lifetime, my lifetime, we could potentially have the answer to one of those questions wholeheartedly, and maybe even answering one question will help us answer the other. I think we have so much to learn and so much to celebrate. Because 25 years ago, if you had said, if we were talking like this openly 25 years ago, we would be made fun of, laughed at, called crazy,
Yep.
and all that. But look at, here we are having this conversation.
I lived through it. I tried to point out after Tic-tac happened, I raised my hand at meetings. Hey, we got a safety problem off the coast. As soon as I started to describe what happened, all anyone heard was UFO. And you should have seen the looks and stares I got. Like, what have you been fucking smoking, sir? It ended my career.
Yeah, that's no
But
good.
you know what? Hey, Tyler, I gotta say this to you and everyone listening. I do not harbor any type of resentment or anything about that, because you know what? Honestly, if the roles had been reversed and I had been on the other side of that table, I may have been the one laughing
right
at that person.
right
And there is no they here. There is no grand conspiracy. I don't believe that. There's just people like you and I going to work trying to do the best they can. That's what I think.
I agree.
And therefore, as you probably heard, I'm going up to Congress. I'm going to testify. I mean, it's in the works. I don't have any details yet, but it's definitely in the works.
And you're gonna let me know when you're going, right? So I can meet you
Oh,
there.
of course. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. Yeah, we're going to film it and everything on the way. We're taking the train. We're going to film it. It's going to turn into a movie.
I could definitely. I mean, I'm in Boston, so I could meet you down there. I would love to obviously not go in with you, but to
I'm going to
support
take you up on that. I am going to take you up on that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, a terror in the sky, we're going to film it. We're going to make a movie out of it.
Okay.
This, like, a terror in the sky, the whole journey, like we take the train there, testify, and we're coming back.
Well, maybe I'll just fly out and meet you.
People are asking me, from friends, family, my attorney, everyone in UAP community, hey, Kevin, are you going to ask for compensation when you get there? You deserve it. I mean, look what happened to you, man. And you know what my answer is? No.
Good for you.
No, thank you. You know
because
why?
They would use that shit against you later on. Look, he was just trying to get money out of it. Look, he doesn't. He doesn't care. He just wanted money. That's the only thing people would hear about that. So you're better off just staying away from it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's also not how I feel about this. I don't need to be compensated, because you know what? I already have been. I feel like the wealthiest man I know right now.
Just
to be in this role and be able to deliver the message I'm about to deliver.
It's a big deal.
I'm rich beyond imagining. I don't need the government's money. And in fact, I'll tell you what's going to happen. If they insist on giving me some anyway, I'm going to donate it to kids.
Good.
And put my fiance in charge of it. I want nothing to do with it.
It has to go to speaking volumes about the character of men like you, Commander Fravor, all the other guys that were there that day, or men and women that were there that day and did what needed to be done. Yeah. So
hey, and since you brought up women, I got to tell you this: in my entire career in the Navy, some of the damn finest leaders I ever worked for were women.
I love it. I love that.
And you know the simple reason, they had to try harder, and it showed.
They have to work twice as hard to gain the respect.
Yeah, they do.
Yep. So
and it showed. Yeah.
When it comes to the different types of craft that may, you know, because people report things, you know, triangles, spheres, you know, cube within a sphere. Do you think that that is there are multiple entities visiting, or is it kind of just like the automobile where there's many different makes and models? If you had to guess, I obviously we can't be sure, but
if I had to guess, and based simply on the fact that the universe is as big as it is, I would have to think there's more than one mind out there,
yeah,
if you will,
right,
because we know there's probably at least two, us and them, right? And
yeah, at least, right, yeah.
Therefore, then yeah, I mean, I
What,
don't want to. Let's not make the same mistake we did before and only think we're the only ones, and now it's only us and them,
right, that
and
would be
ignore the rest of the broader universe.
that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you know, what a lot of people wonder is, could a peaceful, or could it I know disclosure isn't going to be necessarily one thing, but more of a process. Where do you see this process going? Look, I mean, you're going to be in front of Congress, you know, almost what, almost 10, 20 years after the fact. You're going to be, well, a little less than 18, well, 18 to 20 years after the fact. You're going to step in front of Congress and you're going to tell this story to them, right? Now, this is leaps and bounds from where we were then. So what's the next step?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because my message is, at this point, Tyler, is contact with whatever this is, and I don't claim to know. I want to be the guy that does find out, and that was my job in the Navy, to know everything that flew, right?
Right, you're literally
But
the
I do
guy.
know I do know this: contact with these things, whatever they are, can and does change people.
Yes. Gary
How
Nolan.
how or why, I don't know, but it does. And here's the thing. Here's the rub. The changes are beautiful. You get new inspirations, new ideas, new obsessions, even new talents and abilities out of the blue. They just happen. They just start to happen, and you start to change with it. And but the problem, Tyler, is with, like, what happened to me out in this wilderness, where I damn near lost my life, not knowing what had happened to me. Unless you know why you're changing, and unless everyone around you knows why you're changing, one day you're a famous zoologist, and the next day you want to be a chef, for example, or whatever.
Right.
People are going to wonder, like, what the hell happened to Kevin?
Right. Why did he take this right
and
angle?
the problem is, unless you know why you are changing, it might not end well for this planet. Just imagine, Tyler, if what happened to me and others suddenly happened on a global scale through mass contact, and everyone on this damn planet started to change like I did, and nobody knew why or how. That might not end so well.
No.
And so my message is, we don't control this. I don't know what it is or who's in control, and we don't care. What we care about is getting ready for it.
Right.
We need to let people know that if you encounter this, know in advance that you can be changed, and don't fight it. Let it happen to you.
Okay.
Because it's going to improve you.
Right.
And don't be afraid of it, and don't be afraid to talk about it. It's okay now.
It is.
It's okay now.
That's my favorite part about you, and you and Commander Fravor, and you know, the list goes on and on. You know, there's so many people.
Yeah, amen.
There's you guys standing and sticking your neck out has paved the way for people like Ryan Graves, right? These new airmen, seamen, all these people who have seen something, maybe were too scared or didn't know what the proper channels were. Now they're coming out and saying, no, I'm seeing this too. We are seeing, like, there is something up there. We're encountering it daily. You know, what should we do? And you guys have, you know, really come and done such a great thing for not just you know, civilization, but for the history of everything. I mean, in my opinion, the Nimitz event should be and will be most likely in most history books if disclosure comes the way we think it will, right? I don't think Roswell will necessarily be the start. I think it would be the Nimitz.
And you know what I see also happening right along with what you just said is I think looking back on this 50 years from now, it's going to be remembered as the moment when the world itself came together.
Yeah.
Just like that their legislation recently passed in Congress about this subject. That was a unanimous vote. When's the last time that happened?
Rarely.
Has it ever happened before?
Rarely ever happens unanimously.
Has it ever happened? Yeah. But
Not
and that's what's happening on my Facebook. You should see my Facebook page. I'm getting friended from people literally all over the planet. And this is not government controlling it. This is us. This is the people coming together in a common cause and saying that we love each other.
And do
simple.
Do you think that there is a way? So a lot of people had said that when they come in contact with a craft or whatever encounter they have, first, second, third, that it's always kind of nonverbal communication. So do you think that is something that is achieved with maybe evolution in humans as well, that it can be unlocked, a way to tap into something larger? Because I mean, we talk about remote viewing. I mean, these things have been speculated upon, but I've never had that connection with a craft like that. So I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, I have to say, I was a pretty boring radar operator, my whole career, and I was never a UFO guy.
Right. You see, if to pause you one second,
I was probably the least likely guy to ever see these things, but yet I did, right?
That's what I was gonna say. If the Nimitz, if the UFO Tic-tac encounter never happened, I feel like you'd be a pretty straight shooter, and you would you dismiss all of this shit.
Yeah, I'd be just like anyone else. Like, I mean, I wouldn't not believe it, but I probably wouldn't have paid too much interest in it. But I mean, you hear these stories all day long, every day. Have you ever paid a lot of attention to a lot of them? No.
No, but I
mean, I was never a UFO. I mean, I listened to Coast to Coast because I stood night watches and it was on. And I used to love Art Bell.
Yeah.
But that's as far as it went. I mean, I was never a UFO guy, but pretty boring radar operator. I was a Top Gun controller too, so
yeah, I don't know if I'd call that boring. You were in
that was a lot of fun. I discount what I did, but just trying to make the point is all. Yeah,
hell yeah.
Yep.
So with the oh shit, what was I gonna say? I had something.
We get carried away. I get carried away.
Me too. Yep. Do you think that people like, so there are people out there like Mick West, people, these skeptical people. Do you think that this is something that you have to see to believe, or can we take the word of others? And I mean, we look at the New York Times article that came out and kind of broke this story wide open. It was right in the midst, it was 2017. Information is on a 24-hour news cycle. Then, a couple years later, the pandemic happens. Why isn't this a bigger fucking story? This seems like it's the biggest story. It is the story. Yet not too many people really care. Is it because it's not affecting their daily life yet? Or is it because they simply don't know?
I think it's a combination of all the above, and the fact they can't really do anything to affect it either way.
Okay.
So they choose instead to get kids ready for school, take them to make sure they're there on time, that kind of stuff. It's that simple.
Yeah,
we live our life.
So. I suppose that would make sense. And I was thinking about this the other night. Was it a mistake for the military, or was this stigma cultivated by the government as a way to kind of, play a sleight of hand? Because with
No.
tech, you don't think so? That's a
Uh-uh.
big rumor. That's
No.
a big thing.
I'm sorry, but I don't ascribe to any of those conspiracy theories stuff. I
Okay.
really don't.
Yeah, no, I like hearing that.
Yeah.
I do.
Nope. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to seek compensation, because there is no they I can point to and say they did it.
Right.
If that was the case, then yeah, I might, because maybe I was wrong by them, but they don't exist. It's individuals out there in government, like I was, trying to do the best they can with what they got. There is no they.
Right. And I think
to point to, and I am not going to come at my government for something I don't deserve. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it.
I think that's
how I feel.
That's an honorable answer, Kevin.
If they want to honor me in some other way, then go for it. But I don't. If you try to give me money, I'm giving it away.
And I think, honestly, Kevin, I don't know if this holds any weight to you, but I think that the honor that you have right now is from people like me who watch or just come across your story on one of the couple documentaries that you've done that hits home with us, because it's not just it's not just you saw something in the sky and everyone tells you you're crazy. Now we have people like you, the most credible of credible. The only other person I think that would be more credible is an astronaut, and they see these fucking things too. We could go into that.
Hey, and it changes them.
And it changes.
Have you heard some of their testimonies? They're
I've
saying
heard
their lives were changing.
So
just seeing the Earth, it changed them.
Wouldn't
from
that
space,
fucking,
wouldn't
that
their whole perspective?
Right, you could. That would make you feel so small. But do you think that, like, because Buzz Aldrin, he talks about it a lot. There's also Edgar Mitchell, Gordon Cooper, I think his name was, that all said that they have seen stuff up there, and there's been multiple over public channels mention of craft. So, I mean, you have to wonder, how often are these things coming into our atmosphere? Is it a daily thing? A weekly thing? And how are we not seeing it? That's what drives me nuts. I want to see it. And I know that's such a hard thing to ask, because it's probably not going to happen right now. But it's like, believing in something you can't see it's hard. It's hard. But I have to take the testimony from people like you as at its face value.
Yeah, especially when they're starting to become actual evidence now, data available. Yeah. Like we on our so-called expedition, we recorded 600 hours of data that's still being analyzed by quantum physicists in their academic papers are about to be published about what we observed.
Right.
They haven't hit the streets yet, but and I don't know this to be the case, but my strong suspicion is the subject of intention is going to be brought up in those papers.
I hope it is. I would love
in my epiphany realization, probably ran a parallel course with our quantum physicists without us even talking to each other about it. And mine's based purely on observations.
Really?
I base what I think on observations and the published research that I see. And they're actually doing physics stuff.
Right.
Stuff beyond my grasp, probably.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty smart guy, but they're way smarter than me.
Yeah, I mean, that we all have our zones of expertise. Would you, with the radar that you guys were using on the Nimitz, how do those things work? I've always wondered how radar works. How does it track these things? Like, does it send a signal out and it just bounces off it, like almost like sonar? I never really understood radar.
In the case of the spy radar systems, which the ships use now,
Yeah.
It's what is known as a phased array. So it's looking in all directions all the time at once.
Oh, geez.
And from the surface up, up to lower Earth. I can't give you exact numbers, of course, and stuff, but that's basically what it's a all look radar, basically. And
Okay.
basically about the actual radar waves will bounce off anything metal and return, and then that way you can track it with using computers and such.
All right, guys, that was our interview with Mr. Kevin Day, former U.S. Navy personnel and member of the 2004 USS Nimitz battle group Tic-tac UFO encounter. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and we'll have plenty more where that came from Total Disclosure by Pop Culture Corner. Make sure to smash that like button, share the show across social media, and with your friends, family, your enemies, grandmother, brother, doesn't matter. And then subscribe if you haven't already. We do it for you and we do it for the culture. We'll see you next time.